Call the meeting to order with everyone present. First item on the agenda this morning, my Kueny County Engineer with some road project updates. Go ahead, Mike.
So just general things, this week was not a lot of, not a lot of fireworks this week, this past week, but some flooding that's happened over the weekend is a little bit, a little more daunting. Just last week, we, our contract rock for the county roads, gravel roads has been finished. Thursday, W14 letting came in. Bids of 1.83 million for Fort to Spillville and 2.5 million for Spillville to Ridgeway. This is 630,000 roughly above county estimate. I have not processed how the funds are going to shape the 5-year plan. Going to work on that, and then in all likelihood, I'm going to recommend board approval for the bulk of projects next week. I will let you know if ideas change as soon as I can. That's the idea. Anticipate using farm to market account funds to cover the shortfall. So that's how that filters into the 5-year plan is the issue. We had a 114th Avenue, we had a repair on that. Basically the culvert had separated and road was falling into the culvert, and it was kind of a big deal. But it is complete. Summer interns are hear nothing but positive from them, and they are gathering survey data for the W42 project for fiscal year 2028. W14 dish projects are ongoing. I don't think a lot of work was done with the 114 culvert. There was so much manpower. First road closures for Frankville pipe culvert are today. We're putting in our biggest pipes up at the northwest corner of that project, so it'll be a little bit slower to begin with there, but then we're going to go to the county line, Almaty County line. We have, you can be on an email information list. Just email the engineer's office if you'd like to be on that. Staff.
That's an email list the public can get on.
The public can get on that. We sent letters to all the residents asking them if they wanted to be on that. So far, only 3 outside residents are on that list. Still doing inventory. I think we have all of our inventory requirements done for the year, but we are new personnel and everything. We're trying to figure out new ways to keep the inventory kosher with our software. Bridge 5 detour is expected to be in effect on Monday the 1st. Brennan Construction has let us know that they may be staging some of their excavators and other equipment this week. So just be on the lookout for that. And we have a 3rd member to the maintenance shop team. We were looking for a mechanic. The opening is now public. It was public as of Friday. Just want to speak to the flooding that's going on. I would classify the flooding as relatively minor. It's where it's flooded is northwest of Decorah. Basically, at the Howard County line to Decorah has all seen problems of some sort, but I've had conflicting reports of when cresting is supposed to happen. It was either this morning at around 6 o'clock or today at noon. Either one. The latest report on Tingleville from my from my crew is that it's going down. So,
I just spoke with Sean earlier
okay,
and it's crested in Kendallville and Bluffton.
so yeah, so we're kind of in the middle, so that makes sense. I have not spoken to Sean. And we have a couple of streets that are underwater, or a couple of gravel roads that are underwater, nothing that's paved. And a bridge that we've closed because the citizens concerned about damage to the bridge. But all the usual spots around Bluffton, Kendallville are the problem spots, the Turkey River. No issues that I've heard about. Canoe Creek, no issues. Yeah. So we have potential rain tonight. And then the only other event above 10% that I see on a forecast, latest I checked, was again on Friday. So that's, it is what it is. So that's all I got.
Going back to the Frankville, doing that pipe and stuff, going the routing around for the landfill on 200th Street by Richard Hamill's there. Could they maybe put maybe a signage there to caution truck traffic or something, so that people would go a little slower through there maybe? It's just, TJ brought it up when he was in, if they maybe,
Okay.
just some way to caution people that, because it's a steep hill, coming over that crest of the hill, if you're meeting the truck or
It's not a
something.
very wide road.
No. No,
Okay. I don't know what we have for signage. I will,
yeah, if there's something, just caution, slow truck traffic or.
I will run this past our sign guy and see what we have, because I don't know what we have. But yes, I can do
Yeah,
that.
so they did have something to put in that, on that hill, both
just-
sides of that, or
Just because it's,
anything, just to caution, slow them down.
yeah, and this is, yes, I can do that. Anything else?
Could we put a temporary speed zone through that area?
I have not looked into the speed zone on this. This is only a couple of days. And to be honest with you, I don't worth it. It might be worth it. I just don't know how. By the time I figure out how and the whys, we might be moving on.
Yeah, I think just put some kind of caution sign.
Yeah, but
the best.
by the end of next week, I think that they'll
Be done.
probably be normal traffic there. So that's what I'm hoping. Again, the weather notwithstanding, that's kind of where and mobilization might take a little bit longer than the just anyways. So hopefully in the next week we should be, and there's also 4th of July, so it'll be after that. Let me look into that for sure.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Didn't TJ mention that in years past, there was a fatality at that same spot, so he was concerned with the additional truck traffic. And so
Okay. Let me look into a possible. Anything else?
were you expecting that over $250,000 over on our estimates?
So on the W14, so the W14 to get that let, we were aggressive with pricing to get it let to the farm to market funds. We based our aggressive pricing on project in Fayette County and a project in Howard County. They had a little bit different stipulations. They were closer to their quarries. And anyhow, the thing that got us was the price of the rock and the price of the binder we were aggressive on. And again, to get it let, the right amount of funds, we were hopeful. It was a reasonable guess. the pricing we don't think is bad. So we don't think it's bad pricing, it's just we didn't get the good pricing that other projects had gotten before, and it might be due to timing. There's a whole slew of factors, but that's what I can speak to so far on the prices that we got.
Timing is a big deal.
So yeah, it's at the end of the year, and so that's, you're either good or bad, and I think this is, they have another project they could work on, I don't know.
Is what it is.
So I'm happy that it's let, and I think we're gonna be good to go on it, so.
I see all the detour signs are up for Bridge 5. They're all turned toward the road.
Okay, they're not, it should be up, but they're, yeah,
They're
they're ready
turned
to
toward the
go.
ditch side right now, but they're all up in place.
Yeah, I just only heard it in the office, everybody else has been taking care of that, and not me, but I have heard them figuring that out. So it's a relatively long detour.
Anyone have anything else for Mike? Short one today.
Thank you.
Yes, all right, thank you.
Consent agenda?
Consent agenda, we have claims, as you've been looking through the summary of claims. We have minutes of the previous board meeting, and we have 2 liquor licenses, same place though. It's 2 different license numbers for the Luna Valley. So one is, they kind of look similar, but why there's 2, I'm just going to present the stuff. But these went through the Iowa Alcoholic Beverage Board. They assigned 2 different license numbers, so therefore 2 different licenses.
This claim session is high because it's toward the end of the fiscal
It
year.
is, it's high. There's several vehicles in there from the sheriff's office. There's a couple of other high ticket items from IT. You probably saw that in your summary of claims. But for the most part, a lot of just what the normal routine things. There might be a few things in there that were kind of like, oh, I better get this in this fiscal year. There's things that were to be expected on vehicle and several vehicles. And there will be it'll be the first claim session in June is generally your largest, as you saw. There's a lot of stuff in there. And you will have the next claim session after this, one on July 8th. You're gonna have the Booney Rock bill. That's gonna be $900K. Plus, there's some other stuff that will push it up considerably.
Because this is the last one.
That's it, yeah, that's it. Now, all our departments were below where they, the 100%, you definitely don't want to get that close. We've got one more payroll to go. So everybody was in, the upper range was low 80% of budget, just by glancing through. That doesn't count the final payroll. You have a couple big departments, roads and sheriff's office, they'll have sizable payrolls, but everybody else, but nobody's going to exceed. So that's the important thing. Nobody's going to exceed their budgeted amount.
Anybody start one yet? I'll start one.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Any committee reports?
I've got Northeast Iowa Community Action tonight in West Union. I'll have a report Monday on that meeting regarding Smith Building.
Yeah, John Halverson had a conversation with Trish about the Smith building on the boiler. Our boiler license is through July with their possible transfer. He did not go ahead and have it inspected for the next fiscal year, because if it did go into a sale or a transfer, the new owner's insurance carrier will assign the inspector to inspect the boiler. So if we went ahead and inspected it and this is pending, it would just be a double expense and it would be useless. So that was just good caution. We're up to date with everything. Everything here in this building was all taken care of. So all that's in good order.
You guys have a report for the Thursday solid waste collection, rural collection?
Yeah.
Mark and I were both there.
Steve and I and several other folks were in on the meeting, and it was kind of decided to put a pause for the moment on that. We're going to be involving another person to kind of consolidate the information, put together basically like a half page or whatever, explaining what we're trying to accomplish. It's simply a survey. It's not mandatorily raising rates or anything's changing. It's just we want to get a hold of our grasp on the numbers. So I think the plan we have in place will be good. Hopefully meeting this week with somebody who will put the information together and in relatively short time can get a survey, a pamphlet out that will be a survey that you understand and not feel threatened by.
Another issue that comes up out of the meeting that we as a board consider is our monitors have no real boss. They're kind of managed by our landfill director, which is an independent entity in itself. And so here we have 2 county employees and they look to the landfill manager for direction and he's happy to give it, but we don't really, he doesn't really have the designated authority. So how we could enter into a structure that sets that in place better would be probably a wise thing for us to do.
There was even talk about, well, maybe they should fall under recycling to supervise since they are managed by us. But
There was pros and cons there when Scott.
where does that land? It'll take some investigation. I think the first thing is make sure the public is comfortable with what's happening and feels notified why we want the information. It's to their benefit to provide that.
This is purely a data collections scenario so that we have something to make decisions from. But this issue of management is, separate and aside from that. Scott Logston was not really seeing that as the best role for him. And so maybe something in an agreement with the landfill would be a smart move. TJ does not have any objections to it. And the issue that came up that Scott brought up is when they have a call out early morning at 6 a.m. for Scott to try to fill that is a problem where technically if that occurred in the past, TJ would just assign one of his crew or he himself would go out and cover a site if it was needed.
But technically, they're not county employees.
That's
either,
right.
So
we're sitting with,
we better having.
we're at a place where we need to clean this. We need to clean this up.
Sounds like an agenda item for your next meeting.
Yeah,
So how to do it is up in the air, but recognizing a problem is the biggest part of it right now.
it's surprising it's gone on this long without
30 years plus.
So I feel good about where we're at with the progress on it. I had a judicial district meeting on Friday. Still lots of pains with the consolidation, lots of unknowns, lots of agencies not paying bills because they're not getting funding from federal and the state. So it'll be appears a big shortfall. But and the big question was then, well, how do you set next year's budget? Is it on the intention that they will pay, or that this is the norm now that they're not going to pay going forward? So there are some questions to whether to approve the budget or not. And it's who knows. A year down the road, we'll have a better idea, I suppose. 6 months even.
We'll have a meeting with DHS on July 19th.
11:30 with them.
And the meeting Thursday with Winneshiek County Road.
We had received back a response for LED lighting change or the separate metering for the spectrum for the community county services building. And so that's John's trying to poke the electrician to get us some numbers.
Well, we have some stuff there that Andy has to go through with that building and food pantry lease and several other things, so. Look at this, we just got this morning, so.
And we'll hear from Winneshiek Energy District in today's meeting and how they can help us run an audit of the building too.
Did have a talk meeting and also a CCP, a subset of that meeting. Nothing too terrible. Going to be a couple of big events planned for Decorah, which is nice for families and outreach.
Anybody else on the hazard mitigation? Committees? Yeah. That's also Tuesday night. 6 to 8 p.m. here.
All right, we'll move on to the next items on the agenda. We have a few miscellaneous. First of all, the VA guest column idea.
So I've been working with Lucas Binken. This is the Iowa County Magazine where this article first appeared about veterans departments. And he wrote a really good column as a veteran himself and liaison between ISAC and the state legislature. Most of us have met him down in Des Moines. So I put together this guest column, having it come from all 5 of us, recognizing the Winneshiek County Veterans Affairs Department and Faith Hulbeck as the Veterans Affairs Administrator and CVSO for our county. So if you could read through that. In the front and back, and the back part in blue is an excerpt of the article by Lucas Binken in this magazine. And he said that's a great idea to just get more information out to the county whenever possible about our departments and what we do. So I would like you guys to agree to submit this as a group of 5 of us supporting our Veterans Affairs Department.
I read the original article when I saw it, and that.
Well done.
ISAC thing is very well done, and Lucas Bean is a very good representative for ISAC. That's one heck of a job. I think that's an excellent idea.
I'd be in favor of us going. I think our veterans office is a great job. So it'd be great to support them and make veterans aware of what's out there.
Excuse me, what is ISAC?
Oh, Iowa State Association of Counties. And they're the professional organization that holds conferences and webinars and classes all year for county employees, for supervisors, auditors, treasurers, recorders, sheriff's department, conservation, all of
So
it.
this article is.
In this magazine, it's produced by them.
Right.
Yep, and this article was in this magazine.
Where would the guest column go then?
Our guest column would be submitted to local media and they can print it if they'd like to. It'll go to all local media.
So I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's.
Consensus, yes.
Yep.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley, for your
Sure.
work on that.
All right, next item on the miscellaneous, the community services building energy audit, Winneshiek Energy District.
We've got people here.
Marla?
You can pull up some chairs. And then try to stay not with your back to the audience, but sideways like that. Yeah, because then they can hear you too. Right next to Tony and right next to Mark is fine. Introduce yourselves and that'd be great.
Sounds good. So my name is Kristen Egan. I'm the director of the Winneshiek Energy District. We're located just a block away here in Decorah. And with me is Paul Cutting, our energy planner at the Energy District. And so we've been working on local clean energy solutions here in Winneshiek County for almost 15 years now. And we primarily do technical assistance, so energy audits, solar site assessments, and some community education as well. We've worked with other commercial buildings, residential buildings, and farms in the past. And Shirley brought to our attention the opportunity to support the county with no fee to help you make the most of this newly acquired building. through energy efficiency and evaluating its potential for solar. We have worked a little bit with this building prior to your acquisition of it. And my colleague Paul knows a lot more about the technical aspects of what this building currently looks like. But we're excited to partner, and with that, I'll let Paul take it away.
So over the last few years, I've had conversations with both Steve Zittergren and Matt Capscott, mostly relating to efficiency opportunities relating to the food pantry, but also the Spectrum building in general. Back in 2022, an Alliant energy audit was done of both the community food pantry portion, the Spectrum portion, and at that point when it was also part of the kitchen at 200 Railroad Avenue. So that energy audit was done 2 years ago. I think the findings are probably current as to what projects were actually carried out. I don't know. That's a big question mark. I'd be happy to walk through the building if we're not able to figure that out based on past records or conversations with folks. But essentially that audit outlined about $16,000 of lighting upgrades, which would have a return on investment of about 6 years, yielding about $2,200 of efficiency improvements every year. In addition to that, kind of after the low-hanging efficiency portion is done, you might investigate rooftop solar. Essentially with solar, you have two options: direct ownership, which carries a substantial upfront investment. The other alternative, which most county, local governments, and school districts have gone, is through a PPA arrangement, where you're essentially partnering with a developer who has tax liability. You're essentially serving as the host for solar, and then that private developer, in addition to being able to take advantage of the 30% investment tax credit, they're also able to take advantage of the REAP program, Rural Energy for America program, excuse me, which for-profit entities are eligible for, which also is valued up to 50%. So with the PPA arrangement, essentially you'd be looking at electricity savings somewhere on the order of 20% annually, which is about $5,000 if you look at the total operating costs of the building. And then usually with the PPA arrangement, you're agreeing to purchase the power produced from the system, usually at a lower rate than what you'd be able to get from Alliant. And then after a certain number of years, there'd be a buyout clause where you have the ability to buy the system at fair market value. That fair market value can't be determined beforehand. That has to be based on market conditions at that point. This type of arrangement, though, is quite favorable in that you don't have to upfront the money in the beginning. You're able to see cost reductions in your electricity, and then you're able to actualize savings from basically the buyout point through year 25 or however long the system is going to last. So I'm happy to put together numbers as to what both the direct ownership model and a PPA arrangement might look for you. If you were to decide a PPA arrangement, usually how that works is you as an entity could come with a developer in mind to a solar installer. Alternatively, the cleaner way is to work with an actual solar installer who has a developer in hand. And then they're able to put together solid numbers of what that contract would look like, what your savings are going to be over time, and give you a clear picture of what the opportunities might be.
So right now, what we could work with Winneshiek Energy District to do is get that low-hanging fruit in utilities first. And
Yes.
see what was done from the Alliant audit in 2022 and what wasn't. I checked with Christopher McLinich at Spectrum, and he did not know. He didn't have access to that.
I don't believe there was anything done
Yeah,
because of finance.
so,
That was my take on it also.
so it'd be great if we can
They
have
did
you
it
guys
on
do an
that, okay,
audit
but-
too.
The lighting was never upgraded.
And one thing I would be interested in knowing is the valuation of the rebates from Alliance side, because the audit that was done does not specify what those rebates would have been at that point. And I don't know if the value of those would have changed and they weren't accounted for in their analysis. So that's another question that would want to be answered as well.
So the partnership on the solar would be similar to like the campground
Correct. Yep.
project.
Yep.
That's an option. So would we like Winneshiek Energy District to work with us to do this audit of the building first and see what we're looking at for utility savings with some of their recommendations?
The lighting would definitely, I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and do that anyway, because that's just a huge. I know Upper Explorer Land did theirs, they saving 9 point.
They're saying.
It's just short of 10% a year, just with the LED lighting, so.
Yep.
Yeah, we go with that and then get that and then we can. Just like the coolers at the food pantry, they say they are older coolers and. They don't replace them unless they go out, so. Yeah, I mean, you probably save 30 to 40% of the usage on them if get a newer, more efficient ones, but that's their deal.
I think it's no cost for the audit. Correct. So I don't see why we wouldn't take advantage of that and get the full thing done and
Done, yeah.
In addition to that, what I would also encourage you to do is to reach back out to Alliant. Your account rep should be Jacob Semen. I can provide you contact info for him. But you should be eligible for another audit done through Alliant. So that would be another avenue that I'd also pursue. I kind of pursue both of them in tandem.
Seems like a good idea.
Yeah,
Great. So
We should move forward with it,
I think so
Yeah.
too.
with both.
yeah.
yeah, who's
Yeah.
reach out?
Your recommendation is the best way to go.
Who should we have reach out to the electric company?
Who wants to be the contact with these guys? If who wants to reach out to the
I
line?
got enough.
I'd be happy to do it. Mark would be happy to do it. Dan? I mean, any of us could do it.
Yeah.
Just pick one though to not complicate things.
Well, it sounds like you
Right now.
kind of got it going, so I would say if you're fine.
I'd be
doing it,
happy
that's-
to.
And that's what's included in this resolution. 100% for everybody, 50 for public health.
I'd move to approve the appropriation.
Second.
A motion and a second. to approve the New Year Appropriations Resolution. Is there any further discussion? If none, it is a resolution. Mark?
Aye.
Shirley?
No,
Mark?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Aye also.
Mark, you were right.
I'll pick aye.
And I'm gonna pass these over for Dan to sign. This is the appropriation resolution and the interfund operating.
I don't know if you can enter it in the minutes. The reason for my no is based on the public health ratio. Reduction in that, I'm not
I
agreeing.
will note that in there,
Thank
but that'll be up to Ben.
It'll be up to Ben, but if it could be noted, that would be great.
All right, next item on the agenda, Andy Vandermotten.
Thank you.
Morning, Andy.
Good morning. So, let's see, since last time we talked, we're going to close on Rotocast purchase that got bumped back till Wednesday morning. Heard from Rotocast, they wanted a little time to, what they were looking into, but, so hopefully that happens this week. Dan handed me the copy of the letter that Andy Nelson had sent to the board, and I received a copy of that when he sent it out. Regarding the food pantry lease, I understand you've been talking to them about making some potential changes. They're clearly pushing back on that. I don't necessarily disagree with the analysis that Andy had done on this. My only hesitancy is that there's never been a public hearing to convey the property by lease or otherwise for more than 3 years. And you have to have a public hearing in order to do that. This is a little different animal because you did include, or we did include in the contract that you're taking it subject to all the leases that were there. Unfortunately, Spectrum didn't tell us that they had leases up there. So we are left in a situation where I think you need to decide how critical the changes you want to make are, or whether you want to see if there's room for some voluntary negotiations, or if you're satisfied with the increase that's built into the lease that's in place and want to move forward with that lease.
This is a 10-year lease they had with.
Yeah, beginning in
Here.
beginning in 23.
And item number 13, and it says this lease shall be binding upon and in order to the benefit of the parties, their beneficiaries, successors, and assigns. I would assume that we are a successor of the ownership of that building.
You are, but you're in a unique situation because as a public entity, you cannot convey an interest in any real estate that you own for more than a period of 3 years without a public hearing. A lease is a conveyance of an interest in real estate.
Of which was never disclosed.
I don't know that that's necessarily the food pantry's issue so much as it is Spectrum's, however.
Would it help to hold a public hearing to change it up a little for that resolution or not?
I'm not sure what it solves. I mean, you don't have your public hearing on this lease, different lease, different terms. I
Can we
think
just
at some
simply
point
accept their terms?
you can. The risk, I think, if there is risk here for a party in terms of not doing the hearing, probably is on the food pantry, not on the county. I mean, if a member of the public came in and said, you know, this hasn't been done properly, you don't have a right to lease this, I think at that point, we'd be back to do we do a public hearing? Or do we renegotiate the lease for 3-year terms?
And they said they had Steve said there was supposedly a clause in here, there's about $50 a month
I don't see anything.
increase. There's none of that in here, and we said that was supposed to be so. And they haven't been doing that, so
Like I say, I think there's, I think there's some room for some
yeah.
discussions to clean some of that up. I mean, I get it. They want to make sure they've got a 10-year lease on that property and but the form of the lease, it passes as a written lease and that's about it. Yeah, like you said, if there's negotiations that there's supposed to be an increase annually of $50 a month or however that is set up, that should be spelled out in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is a flat rate lease for 10 years, the way it's written.
Right.
And that's, doesn't take into account in 10 years with
Yeah.
with standard inflation.
Well, we're paying the electricity and that's already gonna be going up. so.
Yeah, 20, I mean, that goes up 30-40%. I mean, it's, that is gonna
I
cover,
don't know where this would have come from, but
I don't even,
I mean, I know where it would have come from, but it's not good business sense
no.
as it is. And I mean, realistically, they need to understand that.
And I think they do, to a certain degree. When I was talking with Steve, I had the feeling that they would be willing to change part of it, but that 10-year part is something that they want to stay pretty much married to.
And I think if you can negotiate something that you're all comfortable with, we can, and you want to keep the 10 years, we can do that. We just have a public hearing and we adopt a new lease. And, quite frankly, if they start now, they've got 11 years locked in because they had 23 of them. So sorry, go ahead.
And can we legitimately include a 3-year lease with a 3-year option under the same terms for two renewal terms as an option, which would give the total of 10 years of life to what they're looking for?
You could, and it, the public hearing isn't going to amount to anything to put it together. I do it, just, it's clean. I think you could do the renewals either way, but my sense is you're going to get more pushback on the renewals than a flat 10-year lease with some modification to it.
So I guess we can't do a 10-year lease, is that correct?
You can do a 10-year lease, you have to have a public
Just
hearing.
have to public
We could do
hearing.
it, so we could do it. It would make sense to me if they want to have this particular lease. They install their own electric and that takes the liability out of us for the increases.
Yeah,
You don't have switched over to them, so we're basically only then heating.
Yeah.
The other things.
$50 increase per year is
No, per month.
50.
Per month.
Per month is only $600. Well, that.
Right, but it's
If they're-
2.5%.
Yeah.
Annualized increase, which is, we're underwater, and if it doesn't change electricity, then our best bet is to get out of this lease, because we're totally upside down. The electric rate on this could more than eat up the cost of the utilities just to provide for them to be there.
Yeah, we can come up with some kind of a lease that we put meters in there, they pay the electric and plus $1,000 a month. Because electricity is gonna be their biggest. Something on that order, I don't know.
Air conditioning, yeah. Air conditioning and.
Heating, they ain't gonna use no heating because
No.
refrigerators are producing heat, cooling. Air conditioners around the winter time there is to keep the place cool because of all the 21.
So
Heat's a minor part of it.
Who sat down with Matt to go over this in the first place?
I did. And he was the one that told me, he thought there was an increase in there, but there isn't one. And Steve said the same thing. He said there was supposed to be an increase in there.
Yeah, that's what I got from Steve.
Just sounds like we'll need to come back to the table.
Table.
Well,
Yeah, I mean-
and that's, we left it.
Because if that was supposed to be in there, this lease here really is.
Can we have them come to the board?
Or I could talk to Steve again on this and see where they're at. And what they want changed. I mean, we did get a copy of some of the changes that they were talking about. That was before this came to light.
Right.
So,
Well, we need to get everything on paper.
I think, Dan, if you've been talking to him, I would continue that conversation and try to see where there's agreement and where the bulk of the disagreement
Steve
lies.
and I left it at the point that I wanted to do the lease and get your take on it. And that's, I told him once we got that, I would get back to him.
The last thing I want is to lose them because they're a valuable asset to the county, but we need to get them on the table. We can work something out.
Any intentions of leaving. Well, we just have to work together.
They are if they can't get a 10-year lease the way it sounds, so.
And they're staying for 10 years under this lease, which you guys don't benefit. So anyway, I will wait to hear from you on
Okay.
direction. If you have questions, let me know.
Steve tonight.
Anything else?
I had nothing.
Oh, maybe you should bring up to him about that. I suppose long thing is here. Ask about the landfill and
Yeah.
just to get us opinion.
Andy, we have two county employees that are rural waste monitors on the trash collection sites throughout the county during the week. They've been long-term employees. They have basically no county supervisor per se. They're tentatively managed by TJ at the landfill, which is a separate entity. And their payroll is, of course, typical county employees. Is there a way that we can create an agreement with the landfill corporation so that they're managing? Because TJ has been doing that de facto.
Yeah.
And when there's a needs to backfill, then he'll put one of his employees out there to backfill, or he'll actually backfill if there's a call out because of sickness or vacation or something.
We can do 2080 with a agency, and I think that would solve that
That
problem.
would solve that problem.
Yeah, just give me the. I don't know if I need the names, I need the title, I guess, of what they. Site monitors, is that what we're
Yeah.
calling them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we should be able to put something together.
That would kind of clean that up and give them so they, they're kind of in limbo as to who's my boss, I'm sure.
Sure.
Is the letter from food pantry's lawyers at public record?
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone have anything else?
Oh, I do. Those booklets we talked about before that NACO published, the children's books, they came in and I'll be distributing those to the schools as I can find offices open this summer or early next fall.
ISAC meeting is this week, Thursday, Friday in Des Moines. There's
I'm not going
summer meeting. You going, Mark?
No, I'm gonna go to
I'm
one.
going. I'm
in
going.
August. There's one in August.
That's the annual.
There's one this week.
It's a summer.
Oh, you know,
Yeah, 20.
you going?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Great. We'll hear about it from you next week then. Thank you.
Nothing else? Then entertain a motion to adjourn.
Well, don't move. Second.
Motion second for adjourn. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Say Shirley. Okay, we all have this.
So I
Yes, I'll share it with you. I've got a PDF or yes, that.
PDF, either or.
PDF, find out.
That'd be great, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'll check you guys off my media list then, once I send it to you. Zach, do you want to give us any updates? Let me know.
No, I can. I mean, it's public, like, we're told that it's.
April, let us know.
It's over.
You know, it's over, I want to talk to him.
Nice to meet you.
Zach, just to me in my office hours.
I get it, sorry. I've got it busy.
In my office hours. I was, there's more than 3 of us at the table, so that's a couple of things. Right, so we can't.
We have to let you in there.
So wait for some of you can also give me an update.
Yeah, there was. Nice to meet you as well.
We should have done it during. Oh, well.
Shouldn't be doing.
You can give it to 2 of us, but not 5. I know.
And I think we're.
Can I just waiting a little bit?
No, I don't.
With the.
Yeah, she's putting in, date ranges and things like that.
Dan, thank you for getting all this Steve sitting around and
Yeah.
going over that.
I think for you.
I think it'll work out fine. It's just fine tuned. He understood that I wanted Andy to read.
And I think